So anytime you're making an offer on a house, on the buyer side, you're conveying some very important information. You're conveying, obviously, how much the offer is. Then you're also conveying how much you're putting down on contract. Then you're conveying how much you're mortgaging and what type of mortgage it is. Then you want to tell them how much you're putting down in total. Now, down in total is the amount of money you're putting down on contract, and plus, you're putting the money down on contract as a total number. So let's say you're putting $300,000 down. You're putting $300,000. You're paying $300,000 for a house, and you're putting 10% down. You're putting down $30,000, right? If you put $10,000 down on contract, that's actually part of the money you're putting down. Okay, so what you're really putting down is $30,000, $10,000 down on contract, and then you bring $20,000 to the closing table. So when you're filling out the binder, that's how it's going to look. So if you're offering $300,000, and then you're putting, let's say, $10,000 down on contract, you're going to write how much you're mortgaging, which in this instance would be $270,000, and $20,000 is coming as cash to contract. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be line 4, and then the total, which. But so all right. So the importance of the amount of money you're putting down on contract is really, it's conveying a message. It's saying, this is how much I care about this house. So some people put 10%. Let's say if they're financing 20%, sometimes they'll put 10% down on contract. Sometimes they'll put 10,000. Sometimes they'll put as little as 5,000. Or they'll offer as little as 5,000. It's all an offer. It's all a part of a negotiation. So it's not unusual, and I've done this myself, telling my clients they're probably going to have to put $10,000 down on contract, but I will, in the first binder, if I feel like there's not other offers and I want to make part of the negotiation that to kind of take away from other parts of the negotiation or give a freebie to somebody, I'll put down $5,000 down on contract, and then when they come back to me and say, "Hey, we want 10," I go, "I'll see what I can do." Maybe I can work that out for you. I'll do that for you.
Right.
So I'm almost like asking for a favor in the future. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
If it's possible, right?
That you already knew the answer to.
Right.
Right.
So that it's negotiable. It's all part. And so, like, some people want more money down on contract because it makes them feel more secure that their buyer is that serious and they're not going to want to lose that money. Now, that money does not go to the seller. It sits in an escrow account for the attorney. And the attorney holds it and brings it back to the closing table and meets the rest of that buyer's money at the closing table. So that $10,000 is going to meet them with the $20,000 that's on its way. They'll be together again, and then they'll be part of the whole down on contract. They'll be part of the whole $30,000 of that $300,000.
I mean, so in essence, isn't it the same thing as a good faith deposit, but not called a good faith deposit?
It's a good, so the good faith deposit would be before a contract.
All right, you said.
So that's the only difference. So it's the same principle,
right,
but it's part of the contract.
All right, it's after you sign the contract.
It's after you sign the contract. You go sign the contract with your check. Now it gets sent to the other attorney. The attorney puts in their escrow account. They're not allowed to do anything with it other than bring it to the closing table, or if there's a conflict, mediate the conflict. So in most of these transactions, you're going to have a mortgage contingency clause, meaning that if whoever's buying the house fails to get a mortgage and gets a letter of denial, they will get their money that they put down back immediately.
Right.
They issue the letter of denial, and it's in the contract that they get denied, then they get their money back. But if they just wake up one morning and say,
I don't want that house.
I don't want that house, that's going to be a problem. Now, they don't lose the whole, at least not immediately lose the whole money they put down on contract, but both parties have to release it. Remember Superman 3, where they both had to turn both keys?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happens. Both parties have to turn the key. Now, the seller side might say, hey, you cost me 2 months of my life. I had to pay 2 extra months of taxes. I had other buyers. You've cost me money. So I want 3 of that $10,000 back, or I'm not releasing it. Now that money can sit there for 6 months. That money can sit there for, until it goes to maybe an arbitration.
Right.
But so that's the danger of putting money down on contract, is that if you leave the contract for any reason that's not in the contract, it could sit there a while, and it could be
Right, if they say, oh, I
contentious.
found a different house, I don't want this one anymore, I want my money back.
Right.
Right. and then
So it's up to the
right.
seller to turn that key too.
I
So
went
that-
there 5 times with you, had this guy come, and it cost me money, I need that, I want
Right.
that money back.
Right, and I've seen it. I've seen people have to give $2,000 or
Right.
something to get their money back. Otherwise, it's sitting there for 6 months, and they don't have the down payment for the next place.
Right.
That money's sitting there. Any questions about any of that?
No. The one question I did have is pre-approval. Like, you don't want to. That's way before the contract. That's when you.
Yes.
You take
So-
people around. Like.
Right. This binder, I'm starting out with you at the moment that you already have their pre-approval.
Right.
You've already shown them houses. You've done all that. So now you're presenting a binder, which is a offer. It's a detailed list of what they're offering, and so beyond that, after they make those offers, they're going to put there's another portion here, which is how many years is their mortgage? A 30-year mortgage, most likely, and that is a fixed rate mortgage. Okay, and then they're going to want to know how many days are you giving to get a mortgage commitment. Now, a mortgage commitment is where the bank looks at if you're getting the mortgage, looks at your finances, goes through your bank account, gives you a bunch of homework to do, asks you a bunch of questions, and then once you answer it, and once they're satisfied with all the answers, they say, hey, we're committed to Eric. Not necessarily the house. We're still looking at the house. Or maybe the title's not back yet, but we're done with Eric. Okay? So there's that, and now your contract might be 3 months.
Right.
Your contract might be 6 months. I mean, and it's rare, but it could be 2 months, but you can have a 45 or 30-day loan commitment period. And that's part of the measure saying. It's saying, we only need 45 days. We only need 30 days to get a loan commitment. It's all part of a message of the binder, like how strong of a buyer we are. So that's one of the triggers in the contract. So on the 40th day, the attorney's calling, you have your loan commitment yet? On the 43rd day, they're calling, you have your loan commitment yet? On the 45th day, they're going, today's the day, where's your loan commitment? And if you don't have it on the 46th day, they can start to terminate the contract, even though the contract is for a different time period. Because there's a period in there that they need to get their loan commitment. Because if you start to feel like you're not going to get that loan commitment, you're not going to get the loan, we need to get back out there.
Right.
So on that 45th day, the lawyer's going to be calling every single day, twice a day, until they decide whether or not to let you go. Okay?
Now, why is 45 days?
It's because it's
Like, say you got the 60-day loan commitment. Why would they be calling on 45 days?
normally it's 45 days. The range is between 30 and 45 days. Is how long
60
how
is
long
rare.
it takes for a bank to give a commitment.
Okay.
If there's a problem after 45 days, there may be a problem. Meaning, like
It shouldn't take more than 45
shouldn't
days.
take more than 45 days. And that's the idea, is that, well, our contract might be this long, but we're not going to waste our time with you. If you don't have your loan commitment and you're not going to get the loan, why go the whole 3 months?
So then the lawyers call me, and then I call my client and say, let's get this loan commitment.
Yeah, the lawyers are calling your lawyer, calling their lawyer,
Okay.
and everyone's involved. So if there's a problem, sometimes it just takes long and they need a couple extra days.
Right.
If they ask for 2 weeks, usually that's a bad sign. He's like, something's wrong. We're trying to fix a problem. He bought a jet ski. He's trying to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened
Yeah.
in that time where there actually is a problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what you look for, signals like that, because there's a lot of hiding in that situation. The buyer side is trying to do whatever it takes to go.
I'm good.
We just need a couple weeks. No, but
Yeah.
and the other side's going, then tell me what's going on.
Yeah, right.
So that 45 day, or sometimes it's 30 days, depending on how fast the bank is, and the bank will tell you, how long we need. But in general, if you don't know, you're right. I would say right 45 days.
Okay.
Then the next part is your honor. How fast you're going to be signing contracts. Now, keep in mind, all this is just a message. So when my investors, I write 1 to 2 days, because there's really nothing for them to do.
Right.
Send me that they accept the offer, send the contracts. We're going to sign it in a day. We'll sign. We've had contracts signed the same day as soon as we get the offer accepted.
Because you're not going to banks.
We're not going. What's not the banks? It's the inspection, and it's the normal professional process of an investor. They get it. They know what to do. They don't have to think about it. They don't have to review anything. It's just send it over. Got it. Seen it before. Signed. Gone. If you're a regular buyer, you have to do a home inspection. So you got to book the home inspection. You got to make an appointment with the attorney to go in and sit and absorb this information about the contract, sign it, and give the check. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there I write usually either 5 to 7 days or 7 to 10 days.
For inspection.
Right, not for an inspection, to be signed for them to sign contracts.
Okay.
So this binder is a letter of intent. This binder is saying that we intend to get a loan commitment of 45 days. We intend to, if you accept this offer, be signing contracts within 7 days. It's not things explode if it doesn't happen, but this is the message we're sending because they may be looking at 2 offers. So we're saying, hey, we're getting right in there. Hey, we're doing a loan commitment right away. Hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. Okay. So that you can write 7 days, and then you just hustle to get it done. You get the inspection done, then you get to the next part. Then the next portion is when you intend to close. So, which is the on or about date. The on or about date, and this is our suggestion with our buyer. It may change when it gets to the attorneys. It may change with new information. We might not have spoken to the other side yet about this part. So we might be writing down 6 weeks because we want to prove to them, hey, we're ready to go. 45 days. We'll be out. We'll be closing in 6 weeks. And any date you put, there's a 30-day buffer onto that, where the contract does not expire for 30 days after that, okay? But we may make that message, hey, 6 weeks, and then the sales agent calls you and says, Eric, you wrote 6 weeks. Is that for our benefit? Because my sellers would like to stay for another 3 months. Their kids are graduating. Whatever's happening, is that okay with you? And if it is, you just change it there, and then it goes to the attorneys to get done, because that might have been a message. Or maybe you really do need, that house we were at yesterday, they need to close by August 3rd. That was a serious conversation. I had to sit with them for an hour to figure out if the sellers could close by August 3rd. So sometimes it's just trying to sell the buyer. Sometimes it's a real situation. Right. So those things need to get worked out in the moment. Okay. So, but that's just your intent. You actually, once you're in contract, nobody has any say but the bank really about when you're closing, because they need to get all their homework done,
right.
And then no one will even schedule until they get what's called the cleared to close. Okay, so
that's from the bank, right? Right.
So it's important that even your clients understand that whatever date goes on there is just
guideline,
a guess.
Yeah.
It's just a pin in time. Right. You don't know if you're landing there, and most likely you're not. And a lot of people really hang their hat on that day, and you need to prepare them. Do not pack up your couch. I've had people standing around without couches in their houses because, as much as I beg them not to hang their hat on that day.
Yeah, that date's not set in stone.
Yeah, it's just an intent to set them where the contract should be. Okay, so that's also an important part of the message. Then you're gonna fill out their names and everything like that. So, you have any questions about any of that?
No.
Okay, so when you're making an offer, it's really important that you work bottom up. You don't want to start an offer for your client with how much they're offering. You don't want to say, hey, I offer you $400,000. Because then you've shut their mind off already. All they're thinking about is that number, and you have a lot of other information you have to wedge into their minds. So that should be the last thing. That's your closing act. Okay?
Is the offer.
You're gonna have is the final number. The offer encompasses all we've talked about. So, but the important number to them is how much are my sellers gonna get? How much are they putting in their pocket? Are they gonna be dancing by the So you want to convey and start selling your clients, not with the top line, but with the bottom line. So if I was to call you, I'd say, hey Eric, my name is Peter Grosso. I work at Remax Integrity Leaders. I showed your house yesterday on 123 Apple Street. My clients have interest in it, and I'm going to be presenting an offer. Do you have a minute to speak about it now? You want to be able to speak to him. Like, you don't want to text it. You want, because there's information that you want to both give to him, and you want to be quiet when he's talking and listen for any clues that you can help your clients with, right? So you'll say, all right, so let me first tell you about my buyers. My buyers work, and they're both husband and wife. Now, you're not discussing how wonderful they are. You're discussing their finances.
Right.
It's not about what I'll hear is wonderful people. They got kids. They got a little puppy. That's
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Puppy's not going to buy that.
It doesn't matter if anything of that information sells that people in the house, they might be open to discrimination charges, right? So it's really about what are the finances. So have two great buyers. They both work in New York City. One's a firefighter. One's a police officer. They've been working there for 7 years. They earn X amount of dollars. Their FICO, if you have any of this information, like their FICO score is really strong. Their debt to income ratio is X. My mortgage banker, they allowed me to give you this information. The mortgage banker and the clients allowed me to give this information. Their FICO score is X. Their debt to income is this. They're well qualified. They're getting a conventional loan. They're putting 5% down. They're going to put $10,000 down on contract. So you're working your way up. And they're happy to close at your leisure. They have nothing to sell. Now, if they have nothing to sell, that's a great. You want to say they have nothing to sell, because what that means is there's no dominoes that are in the.
They don't have to get out to.
They don't have to sell their house, which could go wrong, right? To buy their house, because if they have to sell their house, you not only have to sell your buyers, you got to sell your buyers' buyers, right? So they have nothing to sell. And a little bit about me. I'm the I'll say I'm the broker, but you can say I work at Remax Integrity Leaders. We have a great team here. And you basically sell how this is going to be as professional of a transaction as possible. For you, I'd say this is my first deal. I'm working side by side with my broker, and I'm going to be spending every waking moment making sure that nothing goes wrong with this deal. You're going to have somebody on this deal that only thinks about this deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's how you might want to spin it, because you want them to know everything's going to be okay on my side.
It's my most important deal. It's my first
one.
Right.
So that and then your broker will be there to help you through it. But whatever. Now I say I'm the broker. They've never had such a professional transaction. There won't be any mistakes on our end. So you want to be able to just sell yourself too, so that they know everything's going to be okay there too. It's great to work with a professional on the other side. Then you work your way up to the number, and they're putting $10,000 down on contract.
Well, I could imagine the agent would be like, well, what's the number? What do they want? How much? The whole time I'm saying this, I could see them jumping in, interjecting and saying.
Sometimes, but they really should be listening, because these are important parts of the deal. And these are the things I want to know. Sometimes people call me when I'm selling a house, and I'll go, hey, I got an offer you. They're offering $400. I go on.
Yeah, right. Tell me more. Are they qualified?
Right.
What do they do for a living?
Right. So sometimes I have to pull it from people. So that's why I know it's important that I push it at them. So yeah, sometimes you'll get that. More importantly, though, people hopefully they're listening, and they're taking that, because this is important stuff.
Yeah.
So they're going to. So then you get they're doing 10% down, $10,000 down on contract, financing through Freedom Mortgage, and if your recommendation, always say they're your recommendation, because realtors love to hear that the other realtors' clients are using their recommendations, because if they're using your recommendations, they're probably pretty good. You're not going to waste your own time. And it makes them feel like things are going to go a lot more smoothly. When a client comes in and they go, my cousin's an attorney, my brother's really smart, so I'm going to have him be my inspector. Yeah. The other agent's going to go, this is going to blow up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like anytime you could say, and they're using my recommendation for an attorney, for an inspector, for so everything's going to go smoothly. You want to say that too, and then you're going to say, and then you're going to give the number, and it's 400,000, and then you shut up.
Yeah, and let them talk.
Then you literally, and then you just quiet. You just listen as intently as possible. You listen for for any noises that would give any signal about where because they know where their client's head is at. They've been told 100 times what they're willing to take and what they're not, and how far they are. So, and they're not good poker players.
Right.
So you're just gonna listen, and you're gonna get whatever, and you're gonna let them talk. They will talk too much, okay? And then whatever happens from there. And you're gonna decide what I learned from that conversation, and then you let them go, present that offer, and come back to you with either an acceptance, a counter, or the worst case scenario is just a
Decline.
a plain no.
Right.
Okay. Any question about that?
No, pretty much.